Early life origins of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Definition: COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a progressive disease that makes it hard to breathe. It can cause coughing that produces large amounts of mucus, wheezing, shortness of breath, chest tightness, and other symptoms. Cigarette smoking is the leading cause of COPD. COPD includes two main conditions: emphysema and chronic bronchitis. In emphysema, the walls between many of the air sacs are damaged and the amount of gas exchange in the lungs is reduced. In chronic bronchitis, the lining of the airways is inflamed and thick mucus is formed, making it hard to breathe.
COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a progressive disease that makes it hard to breathe. Progressive means the disease gets worse over time. When you breathe, the air goes down your windpipe into tubes in your lungs called bronchial tubes or airways. The airways branch into thousands of smaller, thinner tubes called bronchioles, which end in bunches of tiny round air sacs called alveoli. These air sacs are where intake of oxygen and removal of carbon dioxide happens, which is called gas exchange. In healthy lungs, the airways and air sacs are elastic. They bounce back to their original shape after being stretched or filled with air. This elastic quality helps retain the normal structure of the lung and helps move the air quickly in and out. When you breathe in, each air sac fills up with air like a small balloon. When you breathe out, the air sacs deflate and the air goes out. In people who have COPD, less air flows in and out of the lungs because of damage to the airways and air sacs. The airways and air sacs may lose their elastic quality, and the walls between many of the air sacs may be destroyed. The airways also may become swollen or thicker than normal, and they may make more mucus than usual, which can clog them. COPD develops slowly and is usually diagnosed in middle-aged or older adults. The disease prevents proper airflow in and out of your lungs and can hinder gas exchange in the air sacs. COPD can cause coughing that produces large amounts of mucus, wheezing, shortness of breath, chest tightness, and other symptoms. COPD has no cure yet, and it is uncertain whether damage to the airways and lungs can be reversed. The good news is that early diagnosis, proper treatments, and lifestyle changes can help you stay more active, slow the progress of the disease, and ultimately improve your quality of life.
Cons. There are many factors that causes certain persons to develop early life COPD, entering into the adult life with a diminished FEV1 level or forced expiratory volume in 1 second level. Those are genetic variants associated with lung growth and development, prenatal nicotine exposure, preterm birth causing or not bronchopulmonary dysplasia, very low birth weight children with severe respiratory distress syndrome, children with intrauterine growth retardation, maternal macronutrient deficiency, children with lower respiratory tract illnesses, exposure to airborne contaminants, maternal exposure to pollutants during pregnancy, children with persistent asthma, and active smoking during adolescence. A negative fact about COPD is that there is currently no curative therapy.
COPD is usually caused by cigarette smoking, particularly in the United States and other developed countries.
Other causes may include air pollution, fires, dust, chemical fumes, exposure to any kind of irritant to the lung, especially over a long period of time. As a school custodian, Victoria inhaled fumes from chemical cleaning agents on a daily basis. She was also a smoker for many years. But even as a young woman, she had respiratory problems that were very serious for her age.
Actually, in my later teens, I was having trouble with my breathing. It
was in my mid-20s that I first was told that I had COPD. Much later, she learned she had inherited a gene that put her at higher risk for the disease.
Those who basically have a genetic deficiency called alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency are predisposed to develop COPD.
COPD can have symptoms similar to other conditions. So, along with a physical exam and medical history, testing is required to confirm the diagnosis. Spirometry measures the air in the lungs and how fast it's exhaled. Breathing deep. Push it out. Push, 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 push. A blood test, chest x-ray, or CAT scan may be ordered as well.
A couple more deep breaths.
Finding out you have COPD can be a shock, but knowing what you're dealing with helps you move forward.
When I got the diagnosis, I was relieved because I knew what it was. There's nothing worse than not knowing.
Pros. Although COPD has no cure yet, and is not known how to reverse the damage to the airways and lungs, palliative treatments exist and lifestyle changes can help to slow the progress of the disease. Smoking cessation continues to be the potentially most successful prevention strategy. Inhaled glucocorticoids, given together with surfactant intrathecally, had a significantly lower incidence of bronchopulmonary dysplasia. Children of women whose diet had been supplemented with vitamin A before, during, and after pregnancy had higher levels of FEV1 or forced expiratory volume in 1 second and FVC or forced vital capacity. Applications in medicine. A 66-year-old man with a smoking history of 1 pack per day for the past 47 years presents with progressive shortness of breath and chronic cough, productive of yellowish sputum for the past 2 years. On examination, he appears cachectic and in moderate respiratory distress, especially after walking to the examination room, and has poor lip breathing. His neck veins are mildly distended. Lung examination reveals a barrel chest and poor air entry bilaterally, with moderate inspiratory and expiratory wheezing. Heart and abdominal examination are within normal limits. Lower extremities exhibit scant pitting edema.
I'm almost embarrassed to say this. I was cleaning my house one day, and I have sliding windows, so one of the windows open, and I looked down, and there was a lot of dirt. So the easiest way to get the dirt out of the track is to blow the dirt. No air. No air. I mean, yes, of course I was breathing, but instead of a steady, comfortable flow, like blowing up a balloon, it was like, and I said, this isn't right. I did it again. And I said, this really isn't right. 2 days later, I went to the doctor.
It was January 1989, and I embarked on another New Year's resolution, get in shape, exercise program. And I started walking during my hour at work. And I noticed that after a few blocks, I was getting short of breath. I continued to walk, and what raised my concern was that this didn't get any better. I was experiencing shortness of breath after 2 or 3 blocks. So I went to my primary care physician.
Having problems breathing, shortness of breath, going up and down stairs, found it difficult. So I went to see a doctor in Norway, California, and he wanted to run me through a battery of tests, allergy test, breathing test, and so forth. So luckily,
what I did. I started with the allergy test to see if it was related to, dander or dust or pollen or whatever, or whether I had some problem inside my lungs. So that's what led to the diagnosis of COPD.
I get really bad coughing spells. I can be sitting and I just cough for no reason. And to me, that wasn't normal, number one. And number two, it was hard sometimes to catch my breath. And that, to me, wasn't normal either. And I guess I asked some friends, and they said maybe go see a specialist. And that's what I did.
I have a very special kind of COPD. I have alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency related emphysema. It's otherwise known as genetic emphysema, and it affects most people become symptomatic in their 30s and 40s.
It was the asthma that caused me to seek help, and it was later that I was diagnosed with COPD.
I was quite shocked.
Surprised? Not surprised that it was COPD, because I knew something was wrong. I have enough medical knowledge just to make the doctors crazy. Annoy them. But I was surprised that the diagnosis was severe.
The first thing I wondered is, how long am I going to live? That was scary, right? Because not knowing very much about it, I thought the worst.
I think my reaction was just one of acceptance. I mean, if I had it, I had it.
Conclusion. Although smoking is still a major culprit, genetic, environmental, and developmental factors that are associated with diverse biologic mechanisms as that exert their effects during the growing years can both diminish the maximally attained FIV1 and accelerate FIV1 decline in early life, thus increasing the risk of COPD. Prevention of prematurity and especially of bronchopulmonary dysplasia is a major public health priority that is made more urgent by its potential role in the pathogenesis of COPD. Promising advances in the development of vaccines against respiratory syncytial virus and of preventing strategies for childhood asthma could markedly decrease the risk of COPD. Efforts to decrease exposure to air contaminants during pregnancy and childhood and to preserve and expand the striking reduction in adolescent smoking during the past 20 years could also decrease the incidence of COPD.
I don't think there have been enough head-to-head trials that could allow anybody to make this definitive answer. There was one trial, a very interesting trial that came out of England, that was a head-to-head study, and that looked at an inhaled beta agonist, long-acting, versus an inhaled muscarinic antagonist, long-acting. And these are two standard forms of treatment that we give to COPD. So the obvious question years ago was, which is best? Should we give the beta agonist, or should we give the anticholinergic muscarinic antagonist? The study's endpoint was exacerbations. Again, another very important outcome in COPD. We know that exacerbations, for example, have poor outcomes with respect to lung function over time, with respect to quality of life over time, with respect to mortality. So we want to avoid exacerbations. So this head-to-head trial looked at these two agents, the long-acting beta agonist, the long-acting muscarinic antagonist. And they looked at exacerbations and found no difference. The head-to-head trial showed they were both